So I start off by just sort of locking everything in place that I'm going to be animating on -1, and then 0 becomes my actual beginning of my from 0 to 30 of my idle state. So I know on -1 I'm going to be using this hip controller as well as these 2 feet controllers, and I'll probably be keying the arm here, so it looks like my joint is off. If you remember last time, we created this button that would let us kind of select all of the joints in the hierarchy, selecting all. So I'm going to hit S to set a key. And we know as I'm doing this that these are set because you'll see there's a little red dash that appears as well as this. So if I hit here, I have all the joints collected. There's a couple things you can do to adjust the size of these. Is you can pull it up if it's helpful for you to see. You can also adjust the thickness of those red ticks. So if we go to settings here, and under time slider, it says key tick size. So let's say we go to 5 and we save that. You'll get a little bit bigger of a key tick. As well as, let's see, everything else looks pretty good. I'm going to be doing 30 frames per second. You want to play every frame so it doesn't skip anything, and then hit save. All right, so there's frame -1. And you just want to be conscious if you end up keying anything else that you have those keyed, that you jump back to -1 and adjust it. So let's go to frame 0 here, and you can adjust your time cycle to 30 at these points to see that you're only focusing on -1 to 30. So on frame 0, I just want to pose my character, bring the arms down a little bit, and make sure auto key is on so that those joints are auto keyed. And what that does is it automatically sets a key as you move them. And maybe I want to rotate this actually. So what I'm going to do here is, let's see, is it this one we want to move? Yeah, maybe it's that one. So I'm going to, before I actually move that on 0, I'm going to go back to -1 and hit S to set a key. So here we go. So we go from, we have our T pose here. I go back to 0. And even though this robot doesn't necessarily breathe, I'm going to just kind of do a breathing animation here. So on frame 0, I'm going to start him off sort of just bent over, and maybe I'll move this foot back a little bit, more of like an anticipation pose. I'll bring these hips down a little bit like that and move that over this way. Maybe I'll bend these elbows a little bit like that. Ooh, looks like that didn't skin, or that didn't key right on that arm. Let's go back and make sure, let's go back to -1 here. And I'm going to go ahead and hit select all, and I'm going to shift select. Actually, you know what? Let's, this is a good way to teach you if something breaks like that. You can go up here and go to rigging skin and then unbind your skin. And now that's unbound. And so if I go back to -0, you can see it snaps. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and select that shoulder, grab that entire hierarchy, hold shift and select that arm, and go to skin and then rebind that skin with selected joint. And now it should, let's check this out. There we go, it's bending again. So it's not like the end of the world if something doesn't work right. You could always kind of go back. So I'm going to go back a little bit this way. Now I might have made a mistake here because, no, it looks like, yeah, those were all keyed when we did the selected hierarchy. So I'm just going to do something like this. Something here too. Just kind of like a little bit of an action, but maybe I'll even rotate this a little bit and have the head face forward. Now I keep hitting the geometry, so I'm going to deselect the geometry for a second. So we have this kind of generic pose here. And like I said, I know he's a robot, but what I might do, actually what we can do here is, this is a good time to kind of show you the graph editor. So if we go to Windows, you know what, it might be too soon for that. And it might be out of the scope of this class, actually. We'll come back. I'll make a supplemental video on that. But here's just kind of a generic pose, nothing too insane. And what I'm going to do is, I don't want to key the root here because it'll break connection. Same thing with these feet because we're going to be using the IK handles. But I do want to capture this pose. So I'm going to hold shift and sort of select the 2 shoulders. I'm going to hit my button here to select all, and then I'm going to go to frame 30 and hit S to set a key. And that way frame 0 and 30 are the same. And then I'm going to, I believe we keyed each one of these. So I want to make sure I key both feet. So I'm going to hit S on 30 with both of these NURB circles selected. And I believe we did the elbows. So let's select those and set a key. And the same thing with the head here, we set a key. I think that's everything. Oh, looks like we didn't set a key on 0. So let's go back to -1. And I'm going to get rid of that rotation on -1. And then on 0, I'll move it a little bit and then go to 30 and set a key so that those two are the same. Now what I'm doing is I'm middle mouse clicking on 30 so it doesn't adjust it. So let me kind of show you an example. So say we're on 14 and I move the head down, but I want 0 to be the same as 14. Notice, so let's move this up for a second. If I go to 14, or 13 rather, it moves the head down. What I can do is go to 0, and then if I middle mouse click on 13, notice the animation in the scene doesn't update, and then I can hit S to set a key, and those two are the same. So for example, like 30, I sort of have this tilted down appearance for the head, which I kind of like. So I'm going to middle mouse click on 0 and set a key there. Now I want to remove this key on 13, so I'm going to right click and delete that key. So now my frames 0 and 30 are exactly the same. So if I want to make the character look as though they're breathing, a simple trick is just to select this joint here. I'm going to hit R and then just sort of scale that up a little bit. And now you'll get, if we start off our animation at 0, if I press play, it looks as though, ooh, it looks really fast. So let's make sure that we are on playback speed, play every frame. Yeah, that's right. Let's see, why are we running so quickly here? Maybe we need to do 30 frames by 1. Let's try that. See if that fixes it. There we go. It looks like our character is breathing, but our character doesn't return to that original size because we have a key on 0 but not 30. So I'm going to middle mouse click on 30 and set a key. And now when I press play, you can see we have this character sort of breathing animation. There's a few other things you can do, like on 15, you can also maybe move the character's hits up a little bit. And then make sure that, let's see, 0 and 30, we have a key there. It looks like I forgot to key a lot of stuff. So we have this moving up and down. So very generic, sort of like idle animation for movement. All right, so there's our idle. And we can save this off. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and just do File, Save As, and save this as idle so we have that. All right, so we have our idle animation going on here. And actually what I'll do in another video is we'll take this idle animation and we'll turn it into a walk cycle.